So when Okay, everybody, welcome back to another one-on-one. Today we have a very special guest, a guy who, in my opinion, is a legend and also a gentleman. Always a great guy. I met him when I worked at West LA Music, and we've always just been very friendly. Everybody, Tony Brock.
Hey, Dave.
Great to see you. Looking good?
You too, man. You're looking well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're feeding me well here.
I need some of what you've got.
Yeah. So let's talk, Tony. So in case people are here that want to hear the whole story, because we were talking before we started, and you had told me some things that I hadn't known. So you started off, you grew up in a town called Poole, Dorset?
Yes, that's correct. It's Poole, and that's right next to Bournemouth on the west coast of England.
Right.
And it was still is a beautiful place, you know. I wish I bought a place there when I was in England, but fortunately I grew up with, that's where I had my first band, and Spontaneous Combustion, which Greg Lake, he was my first producer. So, and Greg was just a wonderful guy, and bless him. And he introduced us to Bob Fripp and all the guys, and I moved to London and was fortunate enough to be in with King Crimson when they did Court of the Crimson King, and my Lord, what an education I got from that, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
They were, some of those sounds on that record, you know, where the explosions, the engineer was actually kicking the Neve desk.
Now, were you on the record, or did you come in after?
No, I was only 18 years old. I was only I was watching.
Oh, okay.
And
gotcha.
Whilst Greg was producing our album, and on the days off he would go to King Crimson, and he would invite me down. That was my first introduction to real recording.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine.
It was wonderful. I'll never forget it. And Bob Fripp was just extraordinarily good and a wonderful guy. He used to, you know, we were still young enough. He thought we were still like ghost stories. He used to turn the light off and tell ghost stories to us, you know.
Oh, really? I was a big Robert Fripp fan. In fact, I love some of the 80s stuff when they got Adrian Belew in the band and they had that contrast of the two guitar players.
Oh, yeah.
And he also played for a singer by the name of David Sylvian, who had a band called Japan.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yeah. I love Japan.
Well, you being a guitarist would love Bob Fripp, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. He's phenomenal.
Whether you like his playing or not, he's a brilliant guy, you know.
Yes.
It doesn't matter to me whether I like him when he's playing because I knew him as a person, and I obviously haven't seen him in years, and but he was just such a gentleman to me, and let us be a part of the King Crimson experience, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which, you know, I can only have a memory of that, and it's a wonderful one.
Oh, there's a lot of legends that came out of that band as well. The bass player there for Bad Company, Boz Burrell, I think, was in the band at one point.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then some years go by, you're playing in this band, and so how did you come along to get into the Babys?
Well, after Spontaneous Combustion which is Greg Lake named, by the way. I never did like the name, but Greg loved it. And he wanted to put the song that I was singing on out as a single. And, of course, our singer didn't find that too appealing, so it never made it. But
Right.
I moved on to a band called Strider, which a lot of players in that band went to famous bands like Rod Stewart and Paul Young. I don't know if you remember Paul Young in England.
The one that sang "Every Time You Go Away," Paul Young.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's great.
that was our keyboard player from Strider. The guitarist went to Rod Stewart. A lot of people in that band went to famous people. So Adrian, the manager of the Babies, he used to come to the Marquee Club, where we had a great chance to. That's where we were. That's my roots was band company, free.
Sure.
We became friends with them by playing in the Marquee Club for them, and I would get to be the Who. We warmed up for the Who, Zeppelin.
Wow.
I
Wow.
got to meet John Bonham.
Oh, that must have been unbelievable.
Oh yeah, and we did go on the road with Greg Lake, with Emerson, Lake and Palmer before that, and that's where Carl Palmer taught me the importance of reading music.
Wow.
So if I hadn't listened to him then, we used to put drum kits up together and play together. So he was taught by Buddy Rich, and so I can play that style if I want to, but I choose to have that English backbeat, and I get much more of a kick out of not showing off and then just tastefully putting in things that people know it's pretty difficult to play.
Sure.
But only tastefully put in instead of showing off, and just I play for the song.
Right. Sure. As you should. Yeah.
More as a musician than just trying to show off my capabilities, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully, our people remember me for my groove rather than technique. And anyway, Adrian used to come to the Marquee Club and watch Strider, and then he had a band called the Babies with only Michael Corby in it, one guitarist, and because I had that John Bonham influence, that's what they were looking for, and he bugged me for 6 to 9 months to join the band until he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I went over there and played with Michael, and it was really, really good. And we had Joan White come in as a singer.
It was great.
The magic, the three of us had real magic together. And then we advertised in a magazine for a guitarist. And Wally Stocker was the last guy. And we just knew straight away because of his free influence as well.
Right.
His Paul Kossoff style. That's exactly what I wanted. And
yeah.
And when we lay down a groove, to this day, we've just put the Babies back together, and Wally and I just smile at each other every time we just laying down in that groove, you know. And Wally leaves out the holes for the snare drum, and you know, like he's my brother. We're still doing it, and we just released a new album, and we got it called Anthology 2. And Wally and I are still cranking that freestyle grooves out, and we in fact put some tracks on there. We got this double CD, and one album is a remake of all our hits, and with our new singer John Pasaha.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'd like to hear that. I'll check that out.
Then the other album is what I produced on my own, and was remixed by these guys, and it turned out really, really well. And you'll notice that some of the songs that we did were from 30 years ago.
Right.
That Wally and I wrote then, you know, when the Babies first started, and they still have that flavor, so we kept.
Did you sing a track on that first album?
Yes, and on the second album, Silver Dreams.
Oh, you did? Okay. Because I do remember thinking that you sang lead on something. Yeah.
Yeah, I sang lead on a song called Over and Over with Bob Ezra, who produced it.
Okay.
And that was our first album. On the second album, Ron Neverson, which I stole all my producing ideas from,
Right.
because he produced Zeppelin. So now I know how to get John's sound. And
So when you worked with Bob Ezra, he was probably coming off the high of working with Kiss on that Destroyer album.
absolutely, yeah. And oh, lots of people. I mean,
He was big with Alice Cooper, but I mean, he just had finished 76 was when that Kiss album came out, and I think your first record was 77, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
that's right.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Actually, I think you put out 2 albums that year.
Yeah, Bob Ezra was a great guy, and we went to Canada. And I was flying to Canada. I don't know if you know this, but the Babys, when we were trying to get a record deal, we thought, well, why don't we put a video together? You know, just a quick 3-song demo. Instead of trying to get all these companies to come see us. You know, there's still too many stories of why we were named the Babys. I think it's just due to alcohol, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but the name sort of stuck. And anyway, we did a 3-song demo, and with all the psychedelic stuff, you know, and all that stuff. It was a great little video, and we sent it out to Chrysalis and Warner Brothers and everybody. And I think we were, well, I know we were the first band to ever get a huge record deal with just a video.
Oh, wow.
They didn't even see us play first.
And that was Chrysalis, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah.
We chose Chrysalis in the end after a big fight with different companies. And Chrysalis did a great job for us at the time.
Yeah.
And
they had a lot of cool bands. I always thought they took the interesting route with bands. I liked who they had on their catalog.
Yeah, they were wonderful. Even though the money we got up front, they charged us for all the videos and the travel and
right.
Ice cream that we could eat.
Right.
And all the Guinness we could drink.
Yeah, there you go.
So, you know, we didn't end up with anything really, but they still did a wonderful job in getting us to the right producers, doing the right videos, and getting us on all the TV shows that we can imagine. They thought we were more of an American band that would do better in America, being English and having all those influences at the time.
Mm-hmm. Which you did do well in America, I thought. Yes.
We took off almost immediately, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I remember growing up, those songs were always on the radio, especially the second half. And I say the second half, that like when Jonathan Cain joined the band.
Yeah.
Well, so that was like 1980.
Isn't It Time from second album. And
right.
Every Time I Think of You they were both top 10s before we got Jonathan and Ricky in the band.
Right. Back on My Feet Again, though, would be the song that I think is probably the most well-known here in the States.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
I do, because when if I mention the Babys to someone, I start singing, they're like, maybe. And once I start singing Back on My Feet Again, they go, boom, I know that one.
Right.
It really made rock radio, especially here in Boston. Growing up, it was on all the time.
Right.
Yeah, well, and Midnight Rendezvous was a great song.
Yeah.
I always like 15, 16, 17. That's a great tune.
Yeah. We had a great time putting all that stuff together. And of course, when we got Jonathan in, it was just magic again, you know. We never had anybody in the band that didn't keep that magic for us. But we did move in a slightly different direction when we got Jonathan in. He was such a great songwriter. And the influence obviously came in a little bit, you know, well, a lot.
So Jonathan joins the band, and you guys are touring with Journey that year.
Yes, we went out with Journey for a year and a half almost.
All right, they were. I think they were touring the Departure album, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely, yeah. Funny story is we left. We were at a truck stop after one of Journey's shows, and Jonathan didn't get off the bus, and so we went into the truck stop to get some. It was like 3 in the morning after a show with Journey, and we all jumped back on the bus, and Jonathan's curtains were still closed. So we take off, thinking he's still in there. Well, he got out and went to the truck stop,
Oh,
and
that's funny.
we were already 10 miles away from the truck stop before we realized he's not on the bus.
Oh,
So we radioed the Journey bus, and they were behind us. So we said, "Can we pick up our keyboard player? He's in the truck stop."
right,
And so they did.
right. They thought you maybe can you take the keyboard player?
Well, that's what my next thing is. If you want to join Journey, just get left behind on the bus in front.
Right. Yeah. Now, was the Babies in turmoil during that tour? Was it something like you guys knew this was the last hurrah, or
When Jonathan actually joined Journey, uh, John Waite turned into a different guy, and yes, he wanted to do his solo album. He refused to even try and put the Babies back together, keep it going, because always felt we needed one more album just to put us over the top.
sure?
You know, the only reason why we can still play now is because, as you know, in the business, it's all about songwriting and the longevity of the songs
Yes.
and the performances and playing. And I still get, even though I've done a huge amount, I've been lucky enough to do a huge amount of stuff in between when the Babies weren't together, I still get recognized on the street for being in the Babies.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked was because I saw interviews with Jonathan Cain where I guess Greg Raleigh was going to be leaving Journey, and he had suggested to the band that Jonathan Cain take the gig. And for some reason, I think Jonathan Cain was under the impression that the Babies were going through some sort of turmoil with John Waite wanting to go solo, or something to that effect, that was brewing.
That's exactly right. And I think they've been talking already. And,
Right.
it was already set up for Jonathan to join Journey.
Yeah.
That was partly why John didn't want to do it anymore. And John Waite was just wanted to do his own solo thing.
Yeah, but John Waite made a big mistake there, because could you imagine if the Babies had Open Arms? Because basically that was Jonathan Cain's song.
Jonathan wrote it.
Right.
John Waite turned it down.
Oh, God.
That was going to be on our album.
Yeah. All right. I know he wrote it, so I was thinking if he'd joined Journey, that would have been your tune.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The next album could have been our one over the top.
Yeah.
But no, John Waite just refused. And I tried to get him back in the new version of the Babies, and he still doesn't want anything to do with it. He likes being his own boss.
Sure. But as luck would have it, the Babies break up, and somehow Rod Stewart, who's about to put out one of his biggest albums, Tonight I'm Yours.
Yeah.
And there's Tony Brock playing drums.
I know.
I mean, that's blessed.
I was a lucky boy. He actually asked me to join him when the Babies got their first record deal.
Oh, wow. Oh, really? Back then?
We were on a plane to go to Canada to go work with Bob Ezrin on our first album.
Right.
Rob called me and said, "Would you come and join the band?" And I said, "You got to be kidding me!"
Oh, God.
Said,
Right. He was putting out, what was the record he made then? That was the one with Hot Legs, Footloose and Fancy Free.
I was supposed to be on that. Well, I was on it, singing vocals, backgrounds
Oh, wow.
for him.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. I
Yeah,
did a lot of backgrounds with Carmine, and
sure.
but so I said, "You, Rod, you got to be kidding! I just signed my first record deal with the Babies, and we're on our way to make our first record. I can't do it."
Did you get along with Carmine?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think he's a super nice guy. He used to come into West LA also quite a bit.
Yeah. When I joined Rod, he knew how I played, and he wanted that English backbeat groove
Sure.
anyway. And Carmine was actually there, and unfortunately, Rod insisted that I replace all of Carmine's tracks on "Tonight I'm Yours."
Oh, okay.
So I had to redo every track, and Carmine was there, and I felt terrible.
Yeah,
It's something you just don't do, but
sure.
Carmine. If Carmine hadn't have been okay with it, I wouldn't have done it. But
Right.
Carmine was there, which is the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah.
And he said, "It's cool, Tone. This is what Rob wants." And I'm sort of co-producing this, but Rod fired him as a producer in the end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but
Yeah.
Carmine understand, and he calls it a friendship sort of thing more than
Right.
you know.
You know what song Rod had on an album? I think it was either two albums before you joined. Was the song "Ain't Love a Bitch"? I always thought that was a great song and never got the
Yeah,
push that it. Did you guys ever perform that with him?
yes, we did,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a
but
great song.
not very much. He would come and go as he
Yeah.
was But I couldn't believe actually joined Eddie Money for 6 months
Oh, okay.
after the Babies broke up, and I
Did you
did.
do on record with him or?
Yeah, No Control.
Oh, that you did. You're on No Control.
I got I'm on a couple of tracks of
What
No.
tracks are you on? That's one of my favorite albums.
Do you know? Honestly, I can't remember. It was too long ago, and
Sure.
6 months into doing that. I mean, we were supposed to go on the road,
Yeah.
and because I came in late on No Control, and
Yeah.
did three tracks on it, and
Yeah, I could imagine you on Shaken, but that kind of has a backbeat type of.
that was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, because I did just it has that type of backbeat you play on that, whereas some of the other ones were a little bit more leaning forward pop, like I Think I'm in Love. What I don't I
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a couple of American drummers on there, which I have nothing wrong with American drummers, but they tend to play right on the meter,
Sure.
straight
Yeah.
up and down with no pocket.
Yeah.
And the way I play is the kick drum and hi hats right on the money. And I've been playing with a click track for so long, you can actually play a click track from the start of my drumming, and I don't need to listen to it. It ends up still on the
Yeah,
grid.
you know who had a great feel too was a British drummer that I always thought had a great feel was Cozy Powell.
Oh yeah, Cozy and I just we he was one for the girls, but
Yeah.
Cozy and I did a Ludwig convention together, and we've never stopped loving each other. So
Yeah, he seemed like a great guy.
he is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I joined Rod, and Rod asked me to stay after Tonight I'm Yours. Carmine was willing to leave, and there's actually two versions of the album cover. One's got Carmine on it, and the other one, the new version's got me on the cover. We're all dressed up as sailors. I don't know why we did that, one of Rod's silly drinking ideas. But there's the first version that came out had Carmine on it. And Rod calls me up and says, "I'm really sorry." So, because I actually did the whole album, he said they didn't know, but that you had played the album, and you were supposed to be it. So they pasted me in on the second,
Right.
batch that went out.
Yeah,
And,
the second pressing, yeah.
So to have Carmine on the cover is a collector's piece now.
Oh, wow.
You know,
That's
hopefully,
cool. So then the next album after that was you played on
I think,
Baby Jane,
yeah, well, we did Body Wishes, which,
which
that
is
was,
that the one that has Baby Jane on it?
yes.
Yeah. I love that song.
The bass player wrote it, Jay Davis. And we were writing together all the time, Jay Davis and I. We wrote "What Am I Going to Do" together, which became
Oh,
which became number two in England. And Jay Davis had written "Baby Jane" and played it for me. I said, "This is a hit. This is just too good." It was.
yeah.
It didn't sound quite like it does now. I had a lot to do with the arrangement, and
Sure.
uh, as I did and the band did on every track.
Yeah.
Whatever, didn't matter who wrote it. We had tons of influence. We were a band. It was called the Rod Stewart Group.
Yeah.
It was never ever Rod Stewart
Right. And he was nice like that.
and the band. We would
Yeah.
go everywhere together. The minute he tried to get a separate dressing room, we wouldn't let him. You know, and
Yeah.
he appreciated that. He stayed with the band everywhere, and we went. We would always go to restaurants after the show.
Yeah.
To the best. Rob would always insist we go to the best restaurants, and
Yeah. I
we.
think that kind of changed maybe for the following band.
Well, when I left, he was turning Vegas. So,
Right. Now you did Infatuation as well?
oh yeah, me and Jeff Beck together, we did. That was wonderful. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
I,
that's a great tune.
man, I remember asking Jeff to play one. He did his perfect riff in Infatuation, and I just sort of thought, he could just do one thing out on that riff just a little bit different and better, or just a little bit better.
Right.
And of course, I asked Jeff to do that, unknowingly. He never plays the same thing twice. He played this other riff, which was just twice as good as the one I love. And he said, "Oh, you want something like that?" I said, "Oh, yes, please."
Yeah, that's it. Right.
He was incredible, but he would never play the same thing twice. And
Right. You know, it's funny. Some guitar players get offended by that, but when a drummer says it to me, I'm like, think in polyrhythmic stuff, and I think it's important that you're missing something that a drummer hears because they hear that. You
yeah,
know.
lucky enough, I'm very proud of the fact that I was never just seen as just a drummer.
Right.
Whereas the old-fashioned style of looking at a drummer was, oh, he's just a drummer. But that's
Yeah.
people now realize, and people that are lucky enough, people saw me as intricate part of the band, and I could make
Sure.
suggestions. And
Yeah.
I'd done enough in my life to where people would listen. So I was helping the production on everything I've ever done, and because I needed to, it's just something in me that if they didn't
Right.
use my ideas, that's fine. I would never get upset.
Right. Right.
I just had this desire to produce, and that's obviously what I'm doing now.
Then Rod, I think his next big project was that Storyteller box set, wasn't it? Was that around that time, late 80s?
Yeah, I had six number one albums with Rob before that. Before
Oh,
the
okay. Well, I remember Body Wishes and well, Tonight I'm Yours. Let me see if I can think of what the infatuation.
Infatuation, and
Yeah,
then
what was that one called?
that was the Infatuation album.
Oh, Infatuation.
And
Okay.
that's the one that we were just talking about where we had Jeff.
Right. Some Guys Have All the Luck. Is that on that album?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to place it in my head through the years.
Yep, we had another hit with that. And Baby Jane, of course. I was telling you I had to take it to Rod 3 times. I said,
Yeah.
You're missing out on this one. And finally, we got to do it, and he said, "Tom, you know," he said, "I don't know where you saw this, but you know, it just worked out perfect." So,
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it
oh,
turned out to be a single. It was a big MTV hit for him.
yeah, and I was proud of the backing track
Yeah.
because you know I was getting to do the 3/4 and do some beautiful. Well, I thought they were beautiful. You know,
It's a shuffle, right? It's like a
yeah,
triplet feel. Yeah.
yeah, since 6/8, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's I was doing some really nice that I thought was pretty good. I'm proud of it at the time. You know, so hi-hat work. So um,
Sure.
and of course, it became a huge hit, and Rod's never looked back from that song. So I'm glad I kind of pushed for it. And yeah, uh, I was with him for 12 years.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah. I was going to say you were there till about in the 91 or 93, which,
91,
91. Okay,
well,
91.
90, and then I left. Uh,
Now, did you
I,
leave? Why did you leave?
I left for to produce. I went to produce Keith Urban and Jimmy Barnes in Australia.
Oh, you went and produced Bonzi
Yep,
from Cold Chisel.
that's right.
Oh,
Well,
great.
me and Barnes, he had all 7 albums I did with him that I co-produced. Became #1 in Australia every time. So we were, you know, you couldn't separate us. We were like brothers together. And
Yeah, he was in LA for a long while.
yeah, he's never crossed the. He's always been this underground,
Yeah,
spectacular singer.
sure. Well, he did that one song with In Excess for the
Yeah,
movie The Lost Boys, which
that's
got him some traction. But yeah, I love Ian Moss, the guitar player for
oh,
Cold Chisel.
he's wonderful. Yeah.
Phenomenal. And he's got a great voice. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, we would get Ian in every now and again to play tracks, and but I was lucky enough to have that. I was almost down in Australia for 7 years. I would come back and bring the kids down to Australia,
Yeah.
and it was wonderful. You know, I could have lived there at the time,
Yeah,
and
I think a lot of people do who go down there like it. I know Louis Shelton, the guitar player, the guy that used to produce Seals and Crofts, and he played with Lionel Richie. He moved down there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in between that, I got to produce Keith Urban's first track
Wow.
before he became country. I
Right, when
did
he was in Australia, right?
Yeah, I didn't even have a clue he wanted to do country,
Oh, wow.
and I'm doing this drum machine drum track, playing on top of it, giving him all the electronics and stuff,
Oh,
and
that's funny.
it's a wonderful couple of tracks we did together, but just
Yeah,
nothing like he wanted. And
right.
next thing I see, he's doing country, and I thought, you
Now,
know,
the guy who replaced you in Rod Stewart's band, did you know Dave Palmer?
Dave Palmer. I knew of him, didn't know him. Of course, I've met him umpteen times now because
Yeah.
Rod and I are still great friends. And,
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I think Dave's a great player. I always, he's a British guy that was in the band ABC, and then he was in
yeah,
The.
yeah,
And I was a big The fan, so.
yeah. Well, he's turned out to be a friend of mine, and
Yeah, super nice guy. Very nice.
yes, and I love you know. Some of the stuff he's done for Rod suits him now better than It suits Rod better than now than I would have done because
Yeah,
he has a more of a soggy, not so here I am
right.
drum style.
Yes.
And I love the way he does what I did was play for the song, and
Yeah,
he pretty much does whatever what Rob wants to do,
yeah,
and he's a great guy to be with. So Rod loves that, and
yeah,
so that's why he's been with Rod for so long, and
yeah.
and he doesn't mind when other drummers come in, whereas I would get a little outside if it. But Rod always used me for everything. So,
Right. Yeah. No,
but
Palmer seems to have a real um, mellow attitude, and
Yeah.
just a super nice guy. So I mentor a drummer here in Boston. He's a young kid, and we go over these songs. And I taught him how to play a song that Palmer played in the, and then I posted it on Facebook and tagged Palmer, and he was just like, "Oh man, that kid's great." Because
Okay.
it was a tough thing, yeah. In fact, if you tell me a song that you think would be challenging, I'll have this kid try to figure it out and give him some homework.
Well, there's a few, you know. Um, See if I'll tell you what. There's a song we did on the Baby's first album.
Okay.
Everybody wants to know how I do it. This is not just about me. There's other drummers that I could go
Sure.
rattle on. Todd Sugarman's one of my all-time favorite from Styx, and we just became friends.
Oh, nice.
I know. I'm so blessed with that because he's to me one of the greatest technicians that still play for the song.
Right.
Because Styx require that occasion off time weird, you know. And if you
Well,
were
I always thought Steve Smith from Journey was a smoking technical style drummer.
I no disrespect to Steve, but he is nowhere close to you know.
Yeah. You know, who I got to work with years
So
ago was Vinny Colaiuta.
oh well, Vinny, again, I've known him forever, and
Yeah, I did a country record with him. He's phenomenal.
oh, he's wonderful. When I'm producing and I don't want to play drums, I get Vinny in.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He does it in one take, and
Yeah,
it's, it's like, oh, you show off.
yeah, exactly. He
I
looks he looks at the chart of music and then he goes, "Okay," throws it away.
don't even have to give him the chart. He
Yeah,
just goes in and listens to the first couple of bars and just does it. I go,
yeah.
how did
He's
you just
great.
do that?
Yeah. And one take.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's nuts. There's something not right with the guy.
I went to
What's
sing with Jeff Beck
Oh, you did?
in Georgia here, and
Yeah.
went to catch up with him, and they were incredible. Of
Yeah.
course, Paul Rogers was on before in his band, and my lord, I've never heard Paul Rogers sing so well. Uh, that man,
Yeah. He gets better and better.
I grew up with him singing, and I, I was almost in tears watching him sing. He's
Yeah.
he's just grown to be even better and more soulful.
Yeah, he's unreal. It really pisses me off.
Oh, you know, I went back to see it, and it's just like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
I
Oh, so
don't,
going back to this drummer Cam, he's the boy that I teach.
oh, yeah. Oh,
What's the name of the song on that Baby's first album?
it's called Looking for Love.
Looking for Love. Okay.
There's a cowbell rhythm in there that everybody wants to know how I do it. And he might find it really simple, but if he could play it with the same groove and the same pocket,
All right. Yeah, well, I'll put him to the challenge and I'll video it for you.
yeah, Jeff Piccaro came on the bus one day and said, how do you do that?
Oh, I love Jeff.
Jeff was, you know, my idol at the time. I couldn't believe he's on the bus asking
Yeah.
me how I did that. And we were lucky enough again. I hate, you know, I have to tell you names because otherwise the
Sure.
story doesn't get across.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Please don't ever think I'm name dropping.
Oh, not at all.
I hate that. And
Yeah, you know who told me never to name drop was my friend Bobby De Niro. No, sorry, that's an old Bob. That's an old Bob Saget joke.
oh, okay. Well, anyway, if you that's very good. Well, if you want your student to learn something, he might find it really interesting. It's called Looking for Love, and he needs a cowbell,
Okay.
and it's when you learn it, you see how simple it is, but people still love watching me playing it for some reason.
Yeah.
And
Oh
see
no, I'll put him. I'll put him to the test on it. I'll give him that homework.
if he gets that one, then I've got a few beauties for you.
Okay. All right.
not
He's
necessarily.
he's 50, he's 15, this
Oh,
kid.
then he'll love this one.
And
And
I
then,
have him learning Jeff Piccaro's, like we do. We've done Pamela by Toto. We've done Rosanna. Uh,
look, that hi hat work on Rosanna.
yeah,
Get get the f out. I mean,
yeah, it's
damn.
nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
He
It's
left. Imagine what he'd be doing now if he still was still alive.
unbelievable. He wasn't even. He died at what, 38, I think. He was a baby.
What a shame.
Yeah, it's criminal.
It broke my heart when he passed.
You listen to songs like he played on Diamond Girl for Seals and Crofts, and I think he was 19.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was him and David Page that played the music on that record with Louis Shelton producing. He was like 19 years old.
Get out. That's wonderful.
Nuts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
But so anyway, so you're now, we're into the 90s. You're producing Keith Urban. You produced Bonzi from Cold Chisel fame, and I have a lot of Australian subscribers that we always talk about the Australian bands like Cold Chisel, and I used to love the Angels that nobody
yeah,
in the States really knows. Doc Neeson and the guys.
yeah. Well, Jonathan Cain introduced me to Barnsey when he was producing Barnsey's Working Class Man album.
Right.
I went up in there and there was a few drummers leaving. I went up to do the Working Class Man track, which we made him really huge. And he's like the Bruce Springsteen of Australia.
Oh, absolutely.
He is the biggest name in music and still
Yeah.
is to this day. As I said, Jonathan Cain introduced me. He was in Journey at the time, obviously, and Neil Sean, myself, and Jonathan Cain. Randy Jackson was playing bass,
Mm-hmm.
and we did a song called "Too Much Ain't Enough Love," all together we wrote together in rehearsal.
So it's
And
basically Journey, that Journey from '87 minus Mike Baird on drums and you on drums instead.
that's right.
Yeah.
I played on that whole album again, and in Australia, and that's where the Bruce Springsteen in it comes out, and Jonathan, and as I said, we wrote "Too Much Ain't Enough Love" together, and
Yeah.
then we brought Neil Sean back out with us for a whole tour 3 years later.
Oh, really? With
Yeah,
Bonzi?
your Bungie, yeah, it
Wow.
was fun, and then
Yeah.
we brought Dave Amato out from REO Speedway.
Yeah.
And so, and I 7 years and 7 albums later from doing Barnsey, I had to leave because I was losing my touch in America,
Right.
and Barnsey and I were just crazy boys together, and I don't think I'd be still alive if I stayed anyway. You know, we were bad.
Those Aussies like to throw the pints down.
Oh boy, it's amazing I'm still alive, basically.
Yeah.
And of course, when you get to my age, number one, I'm never going to give up while I'm still slamming.
Right. Sure.
The day I stop slamming and putting down that groove because I want to, then I'll give it up. But the Babies are still playing strong, and I'm really proud of what we're doing. Anyway, so I had to go back to America. Barnsey has never understood. He even writes in his book, if Tony had stayed with me, he'd be made for the rest of his life in Australia.
Yeah.
And he never understood why I went back to America. But my kids were here, my family are here, and I spent so many years trying to be a big shot in America,
Why? I always wondered why Bonzi couldn't make it in America. What was it about him? Because I think his voice was good. He had that, especially in the '80s. He had kind of like, I would say almost like a John Cougar type voice.
But he's better. He's such a soul singer.
Oh, I know, but I'm wondering why, what didn't translate in the United States? Because years ago, when I first started working over at West LA, I had an Australian roommate, and he was playing me all this stuff, and I was like, "What the hell is Cold Chisel?" I never heard of any Cold Chisel. I never heard of the Angels. All these bands.
If you get a chance, my favorite album that I co-produced and played all first takes on is an album called Soul Deep. We did all the old hits from the Soul days.
Right. Okay.
Bring It On Home.
Soul Deep. Got it.
And it's my favorite album of all time I've ever played on.
Wow.
And I played the drums in his pool table room, and the road crew were all playing pool behind me.
Hilarious.
And I'm proud of laying down each track, first take.
Yeah, we'll check it out. In fact, if it's on Spotify, I'll put it in the description.
Yes, we did all the old soul stuff, and he did. From there on, he went on to do other soul albums, and his voice on a soul track is, just beautiful. And of course, he doesn't miss a beat from singing all the American old soul tracks.
Right.
He grew up that as well, even though because he's half Scottish.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, you never want to pick a fight with him.
Yeah. All the AC/DC boys are Scottish too, right?
Yeah. They were his best friends.
Yeah.
So
yeah, George Young and Malcolm Young and Angus.
In fact, a piece of trivial information is that Barnsey was the first guy they asked to join AC/DC.
Oh, really? That doesn't surprise me.
After Bon Scott died.
Yeah.
So he turned it down because he had the John Waite syndrome where you've got to do my own solo albums.
Right.
And
yeah. What is it with these Australian guys and these great voices like Bonzi and then Ian Moss? I thought had a great voice in that band, and the guys in Little River Band talk about being able to sing. It's like, come on.
Well, they all came from English backgrounds. I mean, you know, we dropped them off there because they were all hooligans.
That's right.
And they still stole our singing ability and playing drums ability. So they still have the English in them, you know. And
I always forget, were the Bee Gees English and then moved to Australia, or were they Australian and moved to England? I always forget which way the Bee Gees went.
Good question. I'm not sure. Wally Stocker and myself, after we realized the Babies were never going any longer, we still wrote together and stayed close. Well, I mean, he's my best friend, so.
Yeah.
And I happen to know a little the Air Supply. We're looking for a guitarist, and they introduced him to Wally, and Wally just played so well that he got the gig. And, you know, I didn't get him the gig. He did through his great playing. And he joined Air Supply. But, they were too ballady, way too...
Sure. Easy listening, yacht rock, whatever you want to call it. I love it.
Still clever and
good. Brilliant songs.
And, they had a stage set up where they just have rocks.
Right.
Wally had his own rock. And he swears that he fell off of it one day. He swears it was just the dry ice on the stage, but I think I know a bit different.
Right. He had a few pints.
It was a shoe, during a beautiful. He won't appreciate me telling the story, but there was a beautiful ballad, which is all they knew was ballads. But right in the middle of this hole with a ballad, he fell off the back of the riser and just. And you could hear was all this big fish. You know, I'm never going to let him forget that one.
Oh, that's outstanding. That's great. You guys are all continue to work, and so you were doing a lot of that stuff kind of when I met you, like 2006, and then now I see, because we're friends on Facebook, the Babies are out and playing again. You have a version of the band that I hear is really great.
Yes. Uh, we had when I called Wally and said, "Come on, let's put the Babies back together." I had a lot of influences from the different deep people that he said, "Why don't you put the Babies back together?" What? And it kept popping up in my head.
Yeah.
Well, why don't I? And so I
Yeah.
called John Waite, and like I mentioned before, he had no interest at all. I tried 10,
Really?
10 times until he got so fed up that he wrote to me, "I will never ever be part of the Babies again." So,
What,
and
why do you think that is? Just,
just
I mean, because what has his career done? I mean, I love his voice, but the Babies was the best thing he did. And then he did People Talking, Change, and then he did Missing You, and then Bad English.
that was with bad English. So
No, Bad English was When I See You Smile,
yeah,
I can change the world.
nice
What's that?
singing, good singing.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Great tune.
Oh yeah. Well, there again, it's just Jonathan and
Sure.
Neil Sean, but I was
Well,
kind of a
late
little bit.
80s.
I was kind of a little bit put out by John never wanted to be put a band together again, and he
Yeah,
did
it sounds
solo stuff,
nuts.
but then he did his solo stuff, and then went and put Bad English together. And
Yeah.
I was a bit put out, but I was never upset with it. But I never understood it. And then when I
Oh,
went,
well, because Bad English came out, this I'll say, I think that was more, you had like the guys in Duran Duran doing side projects with Power Station, with other big artists, and everybody was kind of doing these supergroup albums, making a one-off or a two-off album, and then dumping that band. It wasn't like a serious band. And I kind of think that's what Bad English was. Like you had Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain were bored and they're like, "Hey, we should do a record," and it never went anywhere. I mean, he did. Neil Sean did HSAS, which was that band he did with Sammy Hagar, and then he did the Jan Hammer album.
yeah,
I mean, that guy was out playing with everybody. He did the
yeah,
one with Michael Bolton.
yeah, yeah. Well, it stayed together long enough to do two albums. So uh,
Yeah.
John Waite obviously changed his feeling right there, but he's never stepped out since then again.
Yeah.
He's always done his solo stuff.
Yeah. But is he still even performing? I don't even know if he's put out a record in the last. I mean, he hasn't had a hit since Bad English.
Well, he's had Missing You.
Well, that was 84, I believe. And then
Oh,
they,
I thought
or
Bad
86.
wasn't Bad English before Missing You.
No, no, Bad English is like 87, 88. That was after Journey.
Oh, really? Oh, and
Yeah.
then
I don't think he's had an album since. I mean, I don't
well,
think he's done a single. He hasn't had a hit since.
he has done several albums, and he thinks he's had a hit. So, but
Yeah.
uh,
Well, I mean, somebody
uh,
must be paying that bill, but it's,
he,
whatever. I mean,
to this day, he still has to do baby songs. I'm not putting him down, but he still has to do Head First, and Every Time I Think of You, Isn't It Time, and put that in his set to make a full show.
the problem that I have, Tony, with a lot of artists, and apparently John Wade is one of them. Then I have a problem with the Eagles. I have a problem with bands that don't understand it's about the audience.
Yes.
It's not about you. It's not about you want to be. You would make a lot of people happy who grew up where 19 I always tell everybody the greatest year in music for me is 1980 because so many great bands put out their best albums in 1980. And the Babies, in my opinion, is no different. I love that record.
Thank you very much.
But what I'm saying is the Babies should put that band back together and be like, hey, let's go out for a big hurrah and give everybody the chance to see that band that did a year and a half opening up for Journey that's the opportunity to reach people, and you know, maybe he'll, if he's really so concerned with his solo career, that will excite his solo career because people will see his face again and be like, I never knew that guy sang those songs. Because that's what happens when you talk to the average person. You say, remember the song by John Waite, Change? Did you know he sang for the Babies? And they're
Yeah,
like, no.
right. I
At
know. Well,
least,
yeah, unfortunately, there's a website called John Waite and the Babies, and they won't take it down, but it's mainly for John. But we get a lot of Babies fans still love it because they still love John Waite, and
sure.
that's fine. And when I finally got the Babies back together, John and I made a pact never to diss each other in any way. And
Sure.
there's never been a bad word because between you, me,
Right.
and Scott, John has burnt a lot of bridges on his journey,
Right.
and
Well, it's too bad because I think he had a great voice in that, uh, like I said, it's time people stop. You know, it's like when you hear about the Eagles and they're fighting with Don Felder over who's going to be a holding member of the band. It's like, guys, just get out there and play. Give
well,
everyone an equal cut and cut the shit with the business and
uh,
do it for, you know, think about when you were a kid and you were piss ass broke and you couldn't get 5 people out to a club to see you. Now you're filling stadiums. Just enjoy it, make the money, and enjoy your life. Like, what are you doing?
absolutely. We're doing that now. I did that with the Babies. Everything's split, uh,
Yeah.
and I could never look what Journey's just happened. Just happened to Journey.
It's exactly why this conversation came up the other day with me.
I mean, Steve is left out in the dark, and and the original member is, they couldn't. He's
Ross Valerie's great.
and they couldn't win the court case. So now they can't go out as Journey, but Jonathan and Neil can. I don't. One, that's not fair. Two, I mean, I don't mind whoever.
Yeah,
Listen,
the point is just why is there a fight about Journey? They haven't put out a now you can be very nice, but I'm going to be open. They haven't put out a great album since Frontiers. Now, Raised on Radio was okay, but it's a little schlocky for my taste. You know what I mean? It was a little schlocky, but Frontiers and Escape were phenomenal albums. They haven't put out shit since then. So they sit there and talk about how great Dean Castronova is. What do I give a shit about him? He didn't play on any hits. There's no songs. The band is living off its laurels from the early 80s.
yeah. Well, Dean messed himself up, so
Yeah.
I think hopefully he's got himself back together. But he did, you know, he
But
just let himself go. And
right, but
good,
Steve
good,
Smith
good.
is the drummer that played those songs on the records from Evolution
Yeah,
to Frontiers. He's the drummer. That's what people want to see, the guys that played on the record.
yeah. Well, Dean did sing very well, and
Yeah.
but he's not obviously no longer with them. That's why Steve joined back with them. But I don't get the business side of why they hurt Steve
And
and
Ross.
Ross. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just terrible. And I mean, not to name drop again, I hate it.
Yeah.
But Steve Perry has become a huge friend of mine through. We've both been sober together for an awful long time, and we became
Sure.
friends over it. And I spoke to him, and we've never talked about him going back to Journey, but
Right.
honestly wish he would.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't think he wants to get into that conversation, and I've never brought it up. But
I think
I would love.
especially I think it would make him, I think it would tempt him to drink, and that's why he's staying away from it.
Maybe, but can you imagine? I mean, Steve Perry to this day is still
Phenomenal.
bigger than the Journey, I think. And as far as Facebook goes and fans, if they got back together, what a tour that
It
would
would
say.
be, it would, to me, it would have to be with Ross Valerie and Steve Smith. They need the original. Those five should go out. And Steve, you know, I don't know what the full story is about why Steve fired them in the
No,
first place,
I don't know either.
but he should have never.
No.
It should never have gotten to that. Those guys, they go on the road for a long time, but those guys who are creating the songs. The Beatles did one thing right among many things, but the Beatles, when they decided it was over, they broke up.
Yeah.
I bet you if they were all alive today, they would play together.
I don't know. They couldn't. I mean, the biggest band in the world ever.
Well, I'm just saying, I know they would, because they would have gotten past the reason why they wanted to spread their wings and go out. And I think at some point, when they were still alive, John and Paul was still kind of talking and hanging out, even though they weren't public about it. But
No.
I just think that, but they put the band to rest. It wasn't like they weren't going to fire George and bring in another lead player. You know what I mean? Which they could have. Yeah, then they weren't going to fire Ringo. They just
Absolutely not. I mean,
yeah.
Ringo was the perfect choice for Beatles.
Yeah.
He had magic and he plays really well. And who else? He has such a great sense of humor. He puts it in his playing. And who else at that time would have played those fills?
Yeah, no, but that's my point. Is like these bands get together, and I understand if somebody quits, you have to replace them. But at some point, when the band is when people start firing original members of bands, it seems like not good.
Yeah. Well, see, even John Lennon. I mean, what would we do without the album Imagine?
Great record.
What
he had about 5 or 6 great records from that.
My Lord. I mean, so. And Paul's a nice guy, so I don't think anything would have stopped them still going back together.
Right.
Maybe Ono might have got in between. Who knows?
Yeah, but I think at some point they would have gotten together and done like what Pink Floyd did, which would have been a huge charitable event where they maybe didn't take the money and, for whatever cause they all stood for. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So we're in the middle of this virus situation. The world has been shut down. It's absolutely insane out there. When it gets back going, the Baby's going to be on the road. Are we going to be seeing the Babies? And when are you playing Boston?
Absolutely. And hopefully, please, when we get to Boston, you come and see us. And,
absolutely.
I'll treat you to the full first class.
Oh, thank you.
We are, and this is the only thing all of us have planned to do. I'd like you to know the names of the new band, of course, as well as from the Babies, the original. Yeah. So Wally and I are still the original members. Yep. We have a brand new singer, which took me months to find because there were singers all the way around the block in my studio to find the right guy. Yeah. I didn't want anybody to sing like John Waite, but I wanted to have that magic and that.
Sure.
And I found John Basaha. He's going to kill me because I got him back 8 times to make sure he was the right guy.
Right.
And
that's it's what it takes.
We got Joey Sykes on guitar, playing the rhythm, and he's such a wonderful songwriter.
Nice.
He's incredible. So he helps us out like Jonathan did in that vein. We have Walter Eno. He was the keyboard player for 6 years in Survivor.
Oh, great. Yeah, Jim Peterick and Peterick or whatever it is, and Frankie Sullivan and Stefan on bass.
He's a great guitar player and keyboard player.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
what a voice.
Yeah.
So between the five of us, we got it slamming.
Nice.
We happen to like each other. Also, don't forget, we got the Babettes. There's Holly and Elisa. And they keep us being the babies. So,
Yeah. Oh, those girl singers are real important for songs like Every Time I Think of You and Isn't It Time?
we couldn't do without them, and they're
Yeah.
wonderful. And the trouble is they're way too good looking, and so a lot of the audience are looking at them at the time. So
Right. They're like what band?
yeah, they're too pretty.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
think of the Babies? Oh, the band. Yeah, yeah, the band.
yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's uh, it's I don't want to do it at my age if no one's enjoying it or someone's got a
Right.
bad mood. I, I don't want to be part of that anyway.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying what you do and everybody shares what's going on and we fight for the right things that all together, that's all I want. You know,
Yeah.
it's still hard work. It's not roses all the time, you know.
Right.
So, anyway, yes, to answer your question, we are going, as soon as this horrible virus is over with, we actually were booked to go on a blues cruise. We were playing Vegas, which was sold out,
Yeah.
and all that got postponed. So we got to, you know what, putting gigs is together like it's months ahead. So
Yeah.
we're trying. Who knows when this virus is going to be over? You
Yeah,
know,
that's the thing.
so
Nobody knows.
who knows when it's going to happen? We don't want to go.
Yeah.
Who wants to go out too soon and then all come back?
Yeah. That's
So
for sure. Well, definitely, if you come into Boston, I'll definitely make my way to the gig. I'm also going to get back to LA at some point too, because that to me is home to me. I was out there 20 years. And I think you were in the Valley, right? You were like in, were you Studio City area? Were you?
yeah, at the time, you know, I was in LA for oh God, I don't know, 25 years at least.
Yeah.
You know, but unfortunately, my wife needed to come back to Georgia, and it was turned out really well. So not unfortunately, but my
Sure.
wife wanted to spend a bit more time with her mother, and
Sure.
as she's getting on in age, I promised her I would do that. So I moved out of Los Angeles and went to Georgia,
Yeah.
thinking I really could start all over, but it's not quite turned out as well as I wanted it to. Even though I'm still working every day, which is wonderful. I am doing drum tracks and mixing projects for people
Oh,
whilst this coronavirus is going on.
do you have a website to contact you?
You can get me through Tony Brock 1 at mac.com.
And now, how close are you? Like, are you close to Atlanta?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm in a little town called Duluth, and it's I love the people. You know, they're just like English people. They gave me
Right.
as soon as the day I moved here, they gave me a cake, and they
Nice.
they wave to you when I'm taking the dog for a walk in, and you know they're wonderful, but the weather sucks.
Oh, yeah. That's
Oh,
the, yeah, that's the
no,
East Coast for you. Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as London, but
but at some point I am coming back to LA,
I'll
and
tell you what's funny. I was in LA. I fly out to London. It's June, and it's the end of June. I'm in this. I'm looking at the weather. It's raining every other 5 minutes. I say to a guy, "What are the summers like here?" He says, "It is summer." Because in LA you forget what season you're in because every day is gorgeous,
there
right?
is
So I'm like,
yeah
it was just raining and cold. I'm like, what are your summers like? He's like, it's summer. I'm like, this sucks.
there are no summers.
Right.
This is one big summer, really. Even though I love spring there because nighttime it gets really cool. And
Yeah.
I love that you can go out. But
Yeah.
you know,
LA is paradise, you
yeah.
know? It
It is.
really is.
It's so expensive. It's really expensive to live there now, and but it's one day soon I'm gonna go back and
Yeah.
look. Most of my friends are there. My two boys are there, Spencer and Taylor. God love them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I don't get to see them as much as I used to, and then
Right. Where are they? Where are they in the city?
they're both in Burbank, or one's in
Oh,
Burbank.
Burbank area. Sure.
Oh,
Great.
I left my old house there and up in the hills, and it's gorgeous, So Spencer's my oldest son. He's working as a musician. He does lots of remixes
Oh,
and
nice.
plays a lot of R&B. I taught him how to play drums. He was just a wonderful drummer, but
Yeah.
he doesn't want to play real drums. He's better on the computer. So
Right. Sure.
he's enjoying playing with a band called Father Bear,
Father Bear.
and they do a lot of shows. It's all pop, R&B.
Wow. Yeah.
It's wonderful, and it's a real talent that he's got. And my son Taylor has turned out to be a real good businessman. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so they're doing really well, and I'm proud of them, and I miss them just too much.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. Well, you'll get back out there.
Yeah, and it's honestly, I'm not just saying this, but it's great to talk to you again.
Great seeing you, Tony, for sure.
You see my girl on the wall?
Yeah.
behind me?
Yeah.
That's my drum front. That's the famous girl on my drum front that I take everywhere with me.
Oh, okay. That's great.
That's been on the Rod Stewart tours,
Oh, really?
all the Babies tours, and I'm not sure if you can see it from there. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's great.
there she is.
Yeah. Who drew that?
A lady when the Babies first started. I wanted like a '60s or a '50s, Vargas girl looking like on the drum front. And
Yeah.
she turned up. This is a self-portrait of her, and funny
Should have
enough.
said, hey, you can't give me a photograph?
Yeah, well, it's in those times it was really pretty risque to have that
Sure.
on the front. But
Absolutely.
if that's up on the drums, they know who's playing drums. So
Right. That's great.
Some people don't like it, but hey, they get over it.
They say that Bernard Purdy used to bring two signs with him when he played, and one that said "You've gone and done it," and then the other one says "You've hired the hit maker."
Oh, wouldn't it? Do you remember some of his tracks? And you go, huh, it's pretty here. I mean, he must have thought a lot of himself.
But he was so good though. Like the grooves he played on Rock Steady.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Right. Ooh Child, he played Ooh Child. That was him.
Yeah. Well, to me, he was like Buddy Miles. Buddy Miles used to come in the rainbow and shake everybody's hand and say, "Hey, I'm Buddy Miles. Hey, go down."
Bernard Purdy played. There was a band out of England called Raw Stylus, and they were like they were called acid jazz, but it was like a throwback to '70s funk disco. And he played the drums on it, and it's such a great record. Hard to find, but great record.
I've never heard. I've got to look for that.
Yeah. If you don't find it, let me know. I can send you the MP3s. It's called Pushing Against the Flow. It's been out of print. Listen, I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us today, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see you. It's been too long. I always love hearing your stories.
Well, thank you, Dave. Yeah, it's wonderful to see you again. I'm sorry about the mess I'm in, but hey, I can't get a hairstylist to come over and see me.
Yeah, not during this virus thing.
Thank you very much, Dave. Listen, just you take care of your stuff and stay indoors. And I want to come and hear those Marshalls that you got.
You got it.
I've been watching you on Facebook, and you're playing, man.
Thank you.
I think you're wonderful. You do,
Oh,
and
thank you.
you keep doing it, and
Thanks so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I do. It's an honor for me to talk to you as well. So,
Oh, thank you, Tony.
can you please stay in touch?
Absolutely. Let's not be strangers.
No, no. I used to love seeing you and watching you now on Facebook and everything. And if you could come see us in Boston when we finally get there.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
Thank you.
All right.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Oh, no, I know I will be. I know I will be. Probably not surprised, but I know I will enjoy it.
Yeah, and I promise I'll do the drum solo for you.
All right, thank you. Awesome. All right, Tony, very good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dave.